right, so we are back for episode 5 of season 4 of The Wheel of Time. As a reminder, these are raw reactions, which means they are not reviews, they are not critical analysis. You're just getting my thoughts and my husband's thoughts as he wants to chime in off camera because he doesn't care about social media. As we watch the episode, and then after the whole season is over, I might give it a think and revise some of my opinions or keep them the same or provide more analysis about what this show is doing right and what it's doing wrong and anything else that I think is interesting. So we are going to jump into episode 5 having found that episode 4 was good, right? We liked...
Episode 4 was best one we'd ever seen.
I
feel so pessimistic about episode 5.
Yes, I think there's a kind of a split audience feeling around this, where some folks feel like, hey, they finally hit their stride and the story's going to continue on in this vein, and then those of us, including me, who feel like episode 4 was kind of a blip where they went hard on the book accuracy, but they're going to go right back to what they're doing before for the rest of the season. That's my guess.
Yeah.
So this episode is called Tel'aran'rhiod, so I'm guessing we're going to get some of Egwene's training in this episode, and maybe also some developments with Perrin, and it looks like Nynaeve, Elaine, and Matt, for some reason, and Min, for some reason, going to go hunt the Black Ajah.
We could get Perrin entering Tel'aran'rhiod as well, at the same time, so they could introduce it to both characters in the same episode.
That's true. They could do that, because he does do that. He should already be doing that in the books. We've not seen that yet. So, yes, very possible that we will get multiple Tel'aran'rhiod developments in episode 5 of season 4 of The Wheel of Time. So, I've got my wine glass here. Thank you so much, husband. And we are going to dig in, see how this episode does.
Look how cute you are. Do you have hiccups?
Little hiccups.
Stretch.
Yes. For the camera.
So cute. Alright. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do it. Okay, so 70-minute long episode 5 of season 3.
Yeah.
22-ish scenes that I counted. I say ish because I got kind of lazy in the marking of them after a while, so it might be off a little bit, but a lot of scenes. A lot of rapid changing, choppy, especially after the last episode that was very we're in one place with a limited number of people and actually building some kind of a narrative despite all the flashbacks.
Yeah.
In this episode, it just felt like a lot is happening in a lot of places with a lot of people.
Especially funny thinking of oh yeah, it's all one place one time, oh yeah, there were also multiple flashbacks and past and futures, but it still flowed much better than this.
I think so.
Yeah.
I personally think so. I would have to watch reactions from people who haven't read the books, because I do think that there was a lot to absorb in the last episode, in terms of lore, magic systems, history, all the things. Alright, so we're going to try to get through this as efficiently and interestingly as possible. So Rand and Egwene have not had a conversation that we have seen about the status of their relationship, Rand cheating on her sort of with Lanfear in season 2, what is going on with Rand making winking eyes at Aviendha and Elaine as his friends point out in episode 1. She just seems oblivious to all of this, and it doesn't make Rand look like a good partner. And by the end of this episode, it's murderous betrayal. Rand comes off looking really bad as a boyfriend in this episode.
Yes, because they did not address at all where, they essentially ended their relationship at the end of season 1, because he disappeared for the whole of season 2 until the very end when they met up again.
Yes.
And
they
start of season 3, so much stuff happened at the start of season 3 to comment on that it was kind of basically overlooked.
Forgot about it.
Because of so many other inconsistencies.
Yes.
They were just they're together again, I guess.
I guess they're together again. I mean, you pointed out that they were, we're on a break. They're on a break.
Yeah.
But I would still think if you were on a break and you got back together with someone and then during that break you slept with a 3,000-year-old Forsaken who had sold their soul to the Shadow, that would come up.
They're not married.
They're not. Okay. Moving on. So, alright, so we see Moiraine practicing with the orb that I pointed out she just flat out stole from Viridian. She walks in there. She's not the only woman who can channel who's been to Viridian because
Yeah.
And she's like, nah, I know that there's a giant sangreal inside this tree, and she opens it and she just takes it.
Yep.
It's hers
Indiana
now.
Jones style, okay? It belongs in a museum or with her temporarily. So,
So Indiana Jones is trying to return artifacts to places that they were colonized to live. I can't really.
they all reject
defend.
the White Tower, therefore she's reclaiming it for the Aes Sedai in some fashion.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
sure, all right. So Moiraine steals this orb, and she's seen practicing with it on the hillside. And then we kind of skip to a scene where we learn that Savannah and Couladin rejected Rand off screen after he returned from the columns, and we would think that would be an important scene to include. Maybe they filmed it and got cut. I don't know, but that was a little bit narratively choppy to me.
Very much so. Like that seemed like a scene they could have done
Quickly.
and it would have been fairly impactful, showing that, oh, guess what? The Aiel are not one people. There's a schism, and this group is going with a, no, your tattoos are fake. Or don't mean anything.
Rather than a walk and talk in the desert with these, like, paltry dozen people, I would have preferred Rand and Moiraine, standing in front of the Wise Ones and them saying, you have returned, let's see the dragons, you are the Karakarn, and then Couladin and Savannah being like, and, like, stomping off.
Yeah.
That would have been a better scene than the walk and talk in the desert that they did.
Correct.
I don't know why they chose to do that.
Instead, we get a bit of a... eventually Coldfire Hold.
Wait, before we get there, you're jumping ahead. The Wise Ones tell Avienda that she is now an apprentice to them. We are not told what that means. So I know, because I read the books, that Avienda can channel, and all women who can channel are obligated to train as Wise Ones among the Aiel. But the audience is not told that, so it's still kind of mysterious as to why this has been forced upon her if you have not read the books. And then Bear drops that Avienda needs to teach Rand the ways of the Aiel, and that she will go to his blankets with no explanation as to what that entails, which, like, they kind of do in the books, but, like, not that. They don't say we want you to sleep with him. They tell her instead to be close to him all the time. Like, you need to be in like right next to him, like in the tent all the time. And they do kind of secretly want their young, attractive apprentice and the Karakarn to form an attachment because that would be good for the Aiel. But it's not like we're selling you into a romantic situation and you have no say in it, which it kind of came off as to me in the TV show.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. We actually see that happen, so,
Sorry.
you need to take an allergy pill.
I'll worry about
Okay.
it.
Then they go to Cold Rock's Hold, which looks cool, like for a TV set, it looks good. You noted that you don't like the whooping that the Aiel do. And I noted that it sounds like something that is borrowed from, like, Native Americans, First Nations peoples, and doesn't quite fit in this environment.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know, it's a little bit weird. And the cats didn't like it. Ari was like, I don't like those coyotes. Whatever sounds, the barking sounds on the TV. They arrive in Cold Rock's Hold, and Rurik and Bear are introduced to Rurik's other wife, who I think her name is, like, Dorinda in the books, and Bear and Dorinda kiss, which we don't ever see them have, like, physical affection in the books, but it is implied that that's a polygamous relationship in the books, because they're sister wives, so I didn't have a problem with that. I didn't like the kid that they kind of threw in there. I rarely like kids in TV shows that are just, like, thrown in for, I don't know, like, why?
Effect, mainly because I don't really like how it reflected upon Rand's character at this point, where they were trying to reflect him as
good.
either like gradually descending into either madness or forced responsibility for saving the world, and instead he's like showcasing his, ooh, I'm still a goofy adult that can play with children immediately.
I don't know what they were going for with this. Maybe the writers have realized that they have given very little reason for the audience to think that Rand is a good person. That would be my
Very
guess.
possible.
And they're throwing that in there to be like, look, he's nice to children randomly.
Yeah.
He must be a good person, which I don't make that assumption.
Yeah.
and
It doesn't have to be either.
no, and he has just become the acknowledged, not exactly acknowledged, but the presumed primary candidate for the Karakar, and they have to like prove it at this gathering of the Aiel. And like his first thing upon knowing that is to kind of act like a child and then chase a child through the streets of a strange city where he is a guest. I don't know. It was just a little weird.
Very disjointed.
I didn't like it.
I mean, it's not like a deal breaker. It's
No.
just very much that wasn't in the books. Why would you include that? That just seems like an unforced error.
Yeah. And then the Aiel Wise Ones drop to Egwene that she will learn dream walking. There is no discussion about, like, why her? Because she's not a dreamer in this. She's just, like, some girl that the Wise Ones ran into in Tel'aran'rhiod, and so they think, oh, you have the potential, I guess, to learn this, and so they teach her. And one positive note, we did like the costumes. I think that they've improved a lot since season 1. I feel like in season 1, the costume designers were working off of, like, bad notes, and then in subsequent seasons did a bit more research and have, like, course-corrected in some ways, and I don't know, the costumes look better.
They were probably along the lines of, like, oh, this was what the producers gave them.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, we got some criticisms from the fans. Then someone read the books and were like, oh. Here's exactly
quite
what
different
we should do
than
instead.
we're told. Just a guess. No idea actually how that worked out, but we like the way the Aiel look and the village and, like, kind of the settings and all
I
that.
do like to include Tel'aran'rhiod, as it displayed towards the end, not to jump ahead, but it is helpful in a narrative sense to use it for many things. It would have really helped if they had even, like, the baseline explanation, though. Because they did not go into it.
They go a little bit into it, but we have like 20 scenes to go. So let's wait until we get there and then talk about it a little bit more in context. Okay. So Swan and Elida have a conversation in Swan's office, which is decorated like the fisherman's hut person, like the fisherman's daughter that she was before she became Amyrlin. In the books, her study is simple, which shows those same roots. It's not quite like themed like a fisherman's hut the way it is in the TV show, but like that was fine. The problem we had with this scene was why Elida was there, because she bursts in, they have a conversations about how she smells of roses, which it was a little much. Like Elida likes roses in the books, but this almost had like a Hunger Games President Snow always smells of roses kind of vibe to it. I was like a little like,
my interpretation was the entire point of the scene was to establish that they are in conflict with each other.
Yes.
And that was it. But did not make any kind of sense with regards to Elida, like, burning through favors and getting requests in order to arrange that meeting.
Yes. Okay.
Like, why would the meeting happen?
So if you didn't hear that, because my husband is sitting a little far away from the mic, I'm going to move a little closer.
Okay.
This whole scene with Elida and Swan seems to be about establishing that the two are in contention. And to my husband's point, that is dropped that she is like put in a lot of favors to be able to have an audience with the Amyrlin, which like you should just be able to like request an audience with the Amyrlin, but whatever. She has a meeting with her, and then the only thing that she wants to tell her is that she plans to call a vote in the hall. And Swan does not seem particularly perturbed by that. She's like, I hope you have a better handle on it than you did last time, which I guess she's trying to like recall her before.
Or they might have been contention for who would be the Amyrlin.
Yeah, I don't know. The procedures around how Amyrlins switch or change up is a little confusing in the TV show. In the books, they serve for life. Yeah. So it's not like, unless they are stripped of stolen staff, which is not really implied here. Yeah. And Elaine is missing, which if you remember from like episode 2 was a big deal.
Yes.
That Elaine cannot go missing, because if she goes missing, Morghese is going to like bring her armies to the tower And Swan just kind of hand waves it of like, Elaine is gone. I know where she is. Like, we don't actually know if she knows where she is. And then Elaida also asks where Moiraine is. And Swan says she's exiled. And that made me go, oh yeah. In episode 1, Moiraine gets exiled by Swan. And she has to like swear on the oath rod. Like,
not episode 1, but season 2.
Sorry,
season 2.
No, it was season 1.
No, season 2, when they meet up within the waves within Cardian and such, when transitioning.
No, the swearing was in season 1, and then there's a betrayal in season 2. You're remembering something that happens, but it's not where she swears on the oath rod. So the oath rod happens in the tower. It was episode 6 of season 1, the one I hated the most of the first season.
Okay, that was that, and then she actually using that power in season 2.
Yes, yes. Then she uses it in season 2, which is important because they bring up oaths later when questioning the Black Ajah, and we're like, oath rod. So, Moiraine is apparently exiled, but she was in Tarvalin to save Swan from some falling debris. Again, I think that whole scene would have worked better if they were just never in Tarvalin.
Yeah.
Like,
there's no reason why they should have been.
Yeah.
So much of the conversation past that was, where should we go now?
Yeah.
Which is like, why did you bother showing up there together?
I don't know why they went. But I kind of understand what they're doing with we're going to stick together, and then, oh no, we split apart. But logically, it was weird. Especially, again, because Moiraine is exiled. Like, everyone would have seen her there. She was, like, walking through the streets. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, Elaida also calls Swan river trash, so you get a little bit of her classism in this episode. But the whole, like, point of the meeting just seemed to, like, come in and threaten Swan and insult her, which is not very strategic. All right, so then we have a scene with Varen, who is bringing tea to her addled sister, Adelaus, and informing the Amyrlin that the Black Ajah have hearts, which we learned in a previous episode, but they're repeating it, and they do, like, some numbers calculation and decide that they have 12 accounted for, or they have 11 accounted for, and 1 not accounted for, so there must be at least 1 more Black Ajah in the tower. And then they hatch this plan between the Amyrlin, Varen, and I think Lyanna is there too, about how to use the remaining 2 captured Black Ajah to trap Elaida somehow, because they suspect that maybe she is Black Ajah with absolutely no evidence other than that she's kind of unlikable.
Yeah, it's very, very much built on the... She's combative with the Amyrlin. Therefore, she's probably Black Ajah.
It's built on nothing. And Varen does mention that it's built on nothing, and Elaida backs off a little bit, Swan backs off a little bit, but it's like, it's clunky dialogue.
It was very forced, and for a series as grand, many things are meant to be built gradually.
Yes.
Shown. Yeah.
And they do mention the 3 oaths and how the Black Sisters could be unveiled by demonstrating that they have broken one, but the oath rod is not mentioned, which is used in the books, and I'm not suggesting they actually bring that out now. I'm more pointing out that the use of it earlier in the series is problematic at this point.
Correct.
Because it's casual use.
Yeah, the use of it earlier was problematic. In the books, they go with this current course of identifying, they're able to break the 3 O's, therefore Black Ajah, and they don't go to the oath rod yet.
No, not for a while. Okay. Yeah. Then there's like this whole subplot with Alanna and her warder with a new name, who I think is like Rafe Judkins' boyfriend or ex-boyfriend or something. So he's like given a lot more to do in this show than Alanna's warder should be given to do. And Alanna and Maskim? Something? Okay, whatever, her warder. She's, like, sewing in the 2 Rivers. Not sure why she's doing that. And he wants to leave. He's like, why are we here? And she has this, like, I thought you had your eye on the Baker boy. Because, of course, they can't have one episode without someone referencing someone's potential casual hookup in any environment, even a small village, where that would probably be strange to do, and I don't know, with a visiting warder, and I don't know. So, like, yeah, and then it switches scenes again, because this is all very, very rapid, And we're back in Cold Rock's Hold, and Avienda is sitting next to Rand, teaching him manners about how the Aiel eat and what is considered polite. And he is not interested in learning these things, and it's never explained to him why he should learn these things, which, like, you're going to be the leader of these people, so it would make sense for you to learn some of their customs. In the books, he is told that, and he does kind of want to learn, but Avienda is the one being a brat to him, because she saw in the rings that they're supposed to have a relationship, and she's mad about it. Yes. He doesn't know that, but, like, secretly that is the problem. Yeah, so, because she is, like, her heart's not there in real life, and so she's, like, fighting her fate that the pattern has woven for her, and is just being a jerk to him.
Yeah, she's very much in the mode of, I still want to be made into the spear.
Yes, that too.
Unfair. I don't want to do this.
Yeah, she's feeling forced into a fate that she's not yet, like, committed to, and he is, like, baffled as to why she's so mad at him all the time, and why she's so sulky all the time. It's not that he doesn't want to learn the Aiel ways. So Rand, again, does not come looking good in this scene, even though he's supposed to be, like, prepping for, like, a huge leadership role.
He comes up not really looking like anything at all. Like, it's not really established.
He's no character.
Whatever. It's more along the lines of, oh, I picked up the wrong hand. Hand back to Avienda.
Yeah, and then they bring a kid back and talk about squash, which, again, they're trying to make him likable, but it just doesn't really flow for me.
I would argue the opposite. Who says squash is perfect?
I mean, he's a farmer. He's a farmer, so maybe he is more interested in squash than the average person, but, yeah. And then they have the Malkiri woman, Melindra, like, sitting with the group with Lan, so I don't know why she's still in this. Like, that could have been, like, a throwaway scene from the last episode, never to be seen again, so I kind of wonder if they're going to do something with her. She's a dark friend in the books. It is possible that she will end up being one of the Forsaken, secretly.
Maybe, or she's going to be a part-time lover of Lan's.
Or Lan will cheat on Nynaeve, because that will happen, potentially, in this show.
Or especially if his Aes Sedai dies. Maybe.
TBD.
Yeah. Hard to say.
That's... Wait, like if Moiraine dies?
Yeah, if Moiraine dies. That she could be a potential, he goes to her first or something crazy like that.
Oh, like she's a stand-in for Myrelle?
Potentially.
Can she channel?
Who knows?
Okay. This is all very speculative from my husband. But maybe, yeah, it's as plausible as her being a Forsaken or...
a lot of aspects.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with her. It feels like they're showing her again, so there's some plan for this woman who is not a character in the books, but could be conflated with some other plot lines that we don't know how they're going to weave in, so maybe. All right, and then Egwene has her first dream sequence training with the Wise Ones. And the first thing to do is make her promise that she will not enter Tel'aran'rhiod without them, which she immediately breaks in this episode before she knows anything. Now, to be fair, Egwene does break a lot of rules in the books as an overeager student, but it's not this bad. Like, this is an accelerated bad student Egwene for the books. Like, if this had actually happened in the books, I feel like the Wise Ones would have just thrown her out. That have been like, you do not have the discipline to be a Wise One or to learn dream walking, and we are done with you.
Yeah, I wouldn't even go with how stupid it is. We'll wait for that scene later, but very much very clear on the rules. They didn't explain exactly what everything was going on.
No, this is your scene, because you were saying earlier that Tel'aran'rhiod is not clearly explained, and I would agree. Yeah. They did drop hints of it, but I think if you hadn't read the books, you'd be like, what? Yeah. What?
It very much have, like, it's not super difficult to explain either. It's more like, there's dreams that are in each of the person, and then there's the dream world,
the world
which is the
of
layer
dreams.
above.
Yeah.
Straightforward.
Yeah. Yeah,
if you're in that layer above, you could be harmed.
They don't define what Tel'aran'rhiod is, and if that happened in a previous season, I don't remember it. Yeah. So maybe it did, and I just don't remember it. Moiraine might have mentioned it.
Pretty sure they did not.
I would have to go back and look.
And then they could have done some visuals around, like, bubbles of, like, showing people's dreams, because in the final scene with Egwene, she's, like, jumping between other people's dreams. Yeah. And that's just her showing up.
I mean, we have seen the Forsaken pull people into Dream World, so it's kind of implied, but I don't think that we've heard the explanation, so a little bit more there would have been helpful. They do say that, like, most people dream, some people occasionally enter the dream, but few can truly enter it, so Egwene's a little special in that she was able to do that. And they also say that you don't have to channel to be a dream walker, because Moiraine can't channel, but Bear can. In the books, that's reversed, but we'll roll with it for the way that they've flipped the characters around. My husband did point out that it's odd that Moiraine has an accent, like, that's different from the rest of the Aiel people. Like,
yes.
It's a little,
I don't
why?
I don't mind her accent. I like the bit of an Irish lilt to it. But it makes
Irish?
no sense at all.
Yeah.
I felt like it was a bit of
It was
Irish or
something.
Scottish. I don't know.
Okay. So anyway, Egwene goes to sleep while they burn a candle. She wakes up in the world of dreams with Bear and Moiraine. They show her changing clothes rapidly in the dream, which was fun. Yeah. Her armor dress, although it made no sense, was interesting to look at. So we enjoyed the costuming, like, in the show, even when it's a little silly. Yeah. And then they talk about how Egwene is running into someone who has power over her dreams, and the wise ones reveal that is somebody who is shadow-souled, and that in her world, or on the other side of the spine of the world, they're known as the Forsaken. So this is the first time that Egwene is informed that Lanfear is free and out in the world, and is the person that has been entering her dreams, which feels like kind of some...
Not just having PTSD nightmares.
Missed information that should have been shared with her sooner by one of several people who knew that this was happening.
Yes.
Okay.
Including, I don't know, Moiraine, who was always talking about how your dreams could be entering.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then she dreams herself into a city, I think it's Tarvalin, but I'm not sure, and runs into Lanfear, who attacks her, and then somehow she wakes up. We weren't clear on whether the wise ones pulled her out, or if she girl bossed her way out of it, or what actually happened there.
The timer ran out just right
Something,
for her.
yeah. But she woke up, so she didn't end up being permanently damaged. But now we have a set scene where Egwene has been explicitly told not to go to Tel'aran'rhiod without permission because she's a student. She has learned that one of the Forsaken in particular is hunting her in the dream, so it is especially risky. Yeah. And that's important because of what happens later in this episode, like immediately.
Yes.
But we'll pause and then come back to it. So, okay, so jumping around again. So in the tower, the Elida is shown strolling down the halls with a woman in white, who is later revealed to be Alviarin, and we see her trying to build the coalition between the Reds and the Whites to try to get enough votes to oust Swan Sanche. Because I guess in this version of the story, it's just like a democratic process, and you need like a majority. I don't know.
It's
a little bit opaque in how that process works.
Not a rebellion, more of an impeachment process.
Yes, which I mean is kind of similar in the books, except it's a criminal thing. Like it has to be
very sudden.
Yeah, and they still in like it's like severe in the books, but maybe that's going to be a surprise, like the severity of what Elida brings in terms of accusations. We haven't seen it yet, so we don't know.
I still state that it's very murky waters with how they had led the season, with like a third of the sitters being Black Ajah. Just throws off everything completely.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah, the fact that it was, like, really prominent Aes Sedai in the Hall of the Tower, who turned out to be black, should have sent alarm bells running through the whole building, and that should have been one of the things that Elida is using as leverage to oust Swan Sanche, because she's the person in power, and there's, like, this blatant, not just corruption, but, like, people sworn to like the equivalent of Satan, like in the books.
Like, for the U.S. Senate of 100 people, 20 of which turned out to be part of a terrorist organization and kill 40 of the others before
like
fleeing.
in front of everybody,
and
then flee into the dark.
People that are like, what?
I don't know. It's like it's a lot to absorb. Okay, and then there was like a confusing conversation where Elida is trying to talk to Varen's addled sister to learn where the Black Ajah are being kept, which is supposed to look like the trap being sprung, that she might be Block Ajah, but doesn't look like that because it's just assumptive. And I don't know why Elida cares where the Black Ajah are being held. It doesn't seem to align with her whole voting coalition ambition. Like, I don't know why she, like, personally cares about this, but she chases the information to learn where they are. And
it was meant to make the Amyrlin look mastermind-like and sneaky by leading her around no reason.
It feels very contrived to me. We'll get to that later because they jump again to Elaine, Nynaeve, and Matt on a boat heading toward Tanchico. Nynaeve is seasick, which does happen in the books. Elaine is reading from a book about the structure and culture of Tanchico, which was fine, but just like a little nitpick. Elaine shouldn't need a book to know about Tanchico as a daughter heir of Andor. That should be a thing that she just knows.
She should just be lecturing.
That should be part of her education as a world leader, to be like, what are all the different major cities of the world and how are they structured and what are their power structures? Like, that should just be a thing that she knows.
As well as, why would there be a book about that on board?
Yeah, I don't know. But regardless, they're setting Elaine up to be, like, really into research. And so she's reading from the book, and Matt is feeling stifled in the cabin, and they talk about how they are not allowed to go above deck because they promised that they wouldn't. No explanation given. But then they do go up because Nynaeve is really sick, and Matt wants to go up, so he just does. And then we learn that Min is a stowaway on the ship also, and she's been above deck the whole times. And Matt is really excited to see her because he likes her. He is not really like Elaine and Nynaeve, and so he's excited to, like, bunk with Min. And my husband pointed out, like, are they going to set up Min and Matt as a couple? We're not going to get Tuan in this story. Instead, it's just Min? I don't know. Maybe.
Random nitpick with that scene would be the fact that Matt was essentially the oath breaker of them staying in the cabin.
Yes.
Which is something they explicitly promised.
It's true.
In the books, one of Matt's
don't break his promises.
Main redeeming traits is, like, I'm a rogue, but he is a man of his word.
Yes, got a code. He's a rogue with a code.
And so, therefore, the whole, like, we promise we will not leave this room. That's condition of our embarkment, and then he leaves the room.
Although I feel like Matt does not make unimportant promises. Like, and he avoids making promises that are arbitrary, like staying below deck. He would just not promise to do that. But point taken.
I can see that. Yeah,
point still taken. Yeah, we never saw it. And then they skip again to the Two Rivers, where Dane Bornhald is in conversation with Aemon Valda. And I got this wrong in the last video. It's not Child Buyer, it's Aemon Valda. I cannot remember because all the characters are in different places in the TV show than they are in the books. None of them look the way they're described to look, and so it just, like, it's a little confusing. But it's Valda who is the questioner. Yes. He's a bad guy. In the books, and this actor playing him oozes villainy. Like, he does a really good job just being, like, really reprehensible. We see Natty, Matt's mom, and his two sisters still in the cage. Dane Bornhald is kind of nice and gives them water, but also interrogates them and asks about Perrin. I don't understand why it's Natty and the girls and not Perrin's family, since they're apparently alive. I guess they were, like, spirited away somewhere safe.
Sure.
I don't know, but I guess maybe the Natty and the girls were just, like, easy pickings, and they, like, grabbed them in this road or something. I don't know how that was, how that happened.
If anything, I feel like this is, like, trying to wrap up Matt's odd mother from the first season that did not come across well.
Yes.
They're like, let's close that loop.
I mean, they do something kind of interesting with it that's not in the books, but, like, yeah. So we find out because Natty tries to steal Dane's keys and fails. It's really obvious about it, and he overreacts. Why would you try to take my keys? Because she's a prisoner in
a cage.
Like, it's not. Like, wow. He gets really mad at her and becomes, like, kind of front and threatening, and one of the girls, I assume, little girls, channels at him. And you didn't remember this, but one of Matt's sisters does actually become a channeler and go to the sort of the White Tower in the book. So I imagine that's Bode, although I don't know if they have names in the TV show. I don't remember what they were. If they were named in the first season, I don't remember them now. Natty pretends that it was her, and Valda takes her out in a way to question her at Dane's command, because witches will not be suffered to live in this encampment, especially with Valda there. So, and again, he oozes he's a bad guy. We are not happy to see him in power over Natty.
Quite frankly, his intro from the first season was actually one of the
more memorable,
impactful of him actually torturing Aes Sedai and collecting rings was a not badass moment, but a evil villainy. Just very well,
very, very well portrayed. Okay, so then Perrin is on outside of the encampment looking down, making a plan, and they decide that Bane and Chiad, the Aiel maidens, are going to go into the camp with Perrin to free the girls while Alanna creates cover, by which she is not clear what she means. And we see Fael there also, who demands to come along, and my husband noted that she is ridiculously short compared to Perrin.
Yeah.
It's a 2-foot difference between them. Jury's still out on whether I'm going to like her or not. Right now, she's not vibing Fael to me. Yeah. But
she's just not established.
We don't know yet, so we're going to give that more of a chance to
My impression
build.
So far is she's short, she has knives, and is fast.
Yes.
That's about all of her character.
Yeah, and she does reveal that she can fight in a minute here. So, anyway, Alanna and her warder argue about, why they're there, which is, it's a weird time to do, have this continuing fight.
It was odd of, what their role is supposed to be, and they were arguing between, is she going to stay here and heal, or is she going to
provide cover?
Provide the cover, both of which seem like a, quite frankly, not dangerous.
No, the Whitecloaks can't channel and can't sense channeling, so her providing cover really shouldn't give her away. It does for reasons that don't really make sense, but anyway, they have this kind of contrived argument where they drop these dramatic, melodramatic lines at each other. We're here because you're not enough. I loved Ivan more than you. I don't really love you. But then they go and talk about how Alanna wants to build an army because she was concerned that she isn't prepared for the last battle, given how the showdown in the Tower grounds and outside in Tar Valon went with the Black Ajah. And by herself, she's going to build an army with the Two Rivers people who are, good metal because they've seen a bunch of impressive people come from the Two Rivers. Conceptually, this isn't terrible.
Yeah, it's semi-plausible.
But it did to me, it felt a little disjointed because, just the fact that some strong channelers and some Taviran came from the Two Rivers wouldn't necessarily mean that everybody else in the region is impressive in any way at all.
Yeah. It also, as her warder states, felt very odd of that, we just lost the other warder, and your first action was transport yourself somehow, not explained, to the True Rivers to go recruit your other people of strong blood, as opposed to hunting down Leander.
The idea of Alanna raising an army doesn't make sense to me. Her going to the Two Rivers to collect other strong girls who can channel makes sense. Yeah. They do that in the books. She and Varen go to the Two Rivers to go find girls that can channel, which includes Matt's sister. So, that would make sense.
Very valid.
That did happen, but, I'm going to build an army as an Aes Sedai in the Two Rivers was, a little bit of a weird statement. It's a little foreshadowing, I guess. But anyway, then the dumbest thing happens where they fight about it, and Maskim, her warder, says that he is going to go find Liandrin because Alanna threw him away. And I asked the question, what does he mean threw him away? And my husband chimed in that probably he meant Alanna choosing to go up against 6, 8, I don't know, a whole bunch of Black Ajah by herself in the streets of Tar Valon, which did result in the death of her warder.
That whole ridiculous fight scene of,
it's okay.
Look, they just, defended and won out against, 2-to-1 odds in the
Yeah.
tower, and she's gonna go against them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She did really well in that fight, which is relevant because she does really poorly against the Whitecloaks later. But, so Maskim, her warder, storms off, like, is gonna, like, separate from his Aes Sedai to whom he is soul bonded.
Yeah.
And, like, basically, like, sworn fealty to in a unconventional way. And he demands that she turn off the bond, which she agrees to. I think turn off means mask.
I don't think he demanded it. I think she just did it.
She did it.
And,
He demanded to leave, though.
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah. So he separate... I don't know. This whole thing felt very, like, I want to be Huffy so that I can, like, come back in
very forced feeling.
Yeah, like a Boromir moment or a Han Solo moment. But it just felt unrealistic for how these characters are related to each other. Anyway.
It was more of along
drama.
the lines of, with all these jumps around, they're very much a creating drama, resolve drama.
Yeah, create
Like,
drama,
within a
resolve
short
drama. Okay, so Lan is chatting with his Malkiri orphan turned Aiel new friend, and he is lamenting that he cannot, as a king, remember his kingdom. And he's like, what kind of king can't remember his own kingdom? And it's like, well, one that was a baby? And she says as much, but it was just like, why is he... I don't know.
Quite frankly, the things she said were not super descriptive.
This whole scene was not needed. This whole scene was like, and I don't know what they're going to do with this character, but it was just like giving Daniel Henley something to do in this episode. The Borderlands are unforgiving. What do you miss the most? Laughter. Okay.
The only thing I can think of is
I don't need
this
this.
scene might be one of those that is actually meant to have a build up for, and this is why Lan ends up with her.
Or she will be revealed to be somebody more dangerous than we think, which
Perhaps,
again, I don't know. Okay.
Let's hope that's the case, as opposed to this.
I really don't want him to cheat on Nynaeve, but I can see that the show would do something like that. Okay, so then Egwene is packing up her things in Rand's tent, which again goes back to what is your relationship? Rand comes in on her and he's like, we haven't had any time alone together since Ruidian. And she's like, I'm going to go sleep with the wise ones. She means sleep in their tent, but the way she phrased it was unintentionally hilarious. And then Rand leans in and gives her a kiss, which again, they're together, maybe, sort of. Like, they hooked up on the boat and then, like, back in land, but, like, I don't know.
The White Tower,
their situationship is in need of some grounding. And then Moiraine is, like, practicing with the orb. No. What is this scene? Okay, Lan is with Moiraine, and she confesses to Lan what she saw in Ruidian. And she says that she will not be in the last battle, that it was all for nothing because I won't be here, which is a very selfish way to think about your contribution to a war effort to save the world. But that's what she says. And then she confesses that in the futures that she saw, in every vision where Rand lives, she dies. And where she dies, Rand lives, which implies that she has to make a choice, either her life or the life of the world.
Yeah.
To save the world. And Lan takes that on the chin because he's an actual soldier.
Yeah,
and
he's like, is it tonight?
it's like,
no,
yeah, you gonna
good.
die tonight? No? Okay, well, then have a drink. Like, let's hang out a little bit. Let's try the usquai, which I was telling to Billy. I think usquai is the only, like, hard alcohol in this world. Like, there's a lot of wine and ale and related, but I think hard cider, hard alcohols are rarer, and so I think usquai is some kind of a hard spirit. It's really strong.
Yeah.
So they have a good time. That scene was okay. I think you liked it.
I would vote that this scene is one of those changes that I would say is an improvement from the books in some ways, where it's establishing a bit of what is Moraine's motivation and what she's trying to do right now that is a bit more opaque in the books, that you're kind of left to infer, but you're left to infer it over 5 books.
So I'm going to disagree a little bit, only in that what Moiraine sees in the rings in the books is very different.
Yes.
In the books, spoiler, Moiraine sees that she has a chance of living if some very specific things happen in a very specific order. And I think, although we are not told, that one of the things she can't do is tell Lan.
Gotcha.
So I think that's why she doesn't tell him anything in the books. She can't tell him. She can tell Tom. She can tell some people, but not others. And so she, like, follows the recipe very exactly, and that results in her being very opaque.
I'm recalling this now as well, where, like, Tom can't tell Matt until he asks.
It's like all of this like, rules about it, which is why it takes, like, so many books for this, like, one small, tiny chance that she might live.
Was good for epic book series.
Yeah.
But I will acknowledge for a TV show, yes, that kind of stakes for her of knowing of either I'm going to die in some way, or he is, and...
They're very, very explicit about it in the TV show, which makes me think that she will die and be actually dead.
I believe that's right.
In the TV show. Or she won't and Randall die, I don't know. Like, it's the
or it's
implication.
Be some fake out of it's a fake death, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess we don't really know, but the implication feels a bit more permanent. For the story. I also think that they're still trying to do that thing of, like, copying Game of Thrones, where they're gonna, like, kill off the main character and, like, everyone will gasp. I won't gasp.
And then Nynaeve revives her.
With her tears.
But overall, I'm okay with that plotline shift.
Yeah, the shift is fine for shortening things. Like, if you're already cutting the Elfin and the Aeflin, you're cutting a whole bunch of other things, and it's like, you're gonna truncate and create some other conflict. It's fine.
Moiraine did not play too big of a role in later books.
No, I was disappointed with her role. That's the way that Sanderson wrote her. I didn't like. I don't know if that was the way Robert Jordan intended it or not. I know that Robert Jordan left notes for Sanderson, but my understanding is that those notes were, like, not a whole fleshed out book. It was, like, kind of random bits and pieces of things. Some of the next book that I think, like, Gathering Storm has a lot of Jordan in it. Midnight or Towers at Midnight has some scenes that Jordan wrote, namely the ones in the Tower of Genji, and, like, Memory of Light is, like, all Sanderson making things up based on like scribbles of things. Sure. So I don't know how Moiraine would have been written if Jordan had done it, but I didn't love it in the books. Okay, so Min and Matt are on a boat, and Matt is loving the fact that he is no longer bunking with Nynaeve and Elaine, who are insufferable for various reasons. Matt suggests that Min stowed away because she's obsessed with him, and then he teases her by finding some pictures that she drew, which includes a sketch of him being hung in the vision that she saw between a redstone doorway, which, again, I think is going to be something that, like, Mohidian does as opposed to the Elfin and the Aeflin. I don't know.
Side note, your phrasing was very odd there.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just joking of, like, that she was obsessed with him and then teased her when he found a photo of him being hung.
I mean, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, I heard it now. He was hanged by the neck until dead. Okay. But he does point out that her visions, or that she has misinterpreted her own visions before, because she did say that he was going to kill Rand and he didn't. So he is being optimistic about what the future holds for him. Also, the quarters on this ship are, like, really nice.
Yeah, those are huge rooms for
really nice.
That is meant to be notoriously, like,
tiny.
You know,
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they have actual big rooms like that, but, like, they have two of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, so
the walls are so thin.
Nynaeve and Elaine are asleep on the deck, and they randomly wake up to see one of the sea folk women channeling. And this happens in the books. It happens in a different trip. But I think you kind of forgot that. But, like, in the books on the trip from Tarvalin to Tyr, they take a Windfinder ship, and because they pretend that they are Aes Sedai and that they are going to save someone who the sea folk interpret to be the Coromor, the sea folk mistress allows them onto the boat and then also reveals the secret, or allows them to learn the secret, that Windfinders can channel. Different opinions may abound as to how wise that was, but this particular Windfinder is nice, and she's, like, the last nice one we meet. Yes. For a really long time. Yeah. A lot of them are not very nice.
But it was one of those, like, we revealed this for a reason.
Yeah, there was, like, a reason for why she agreed to take them. There was, like, some urgency around it. In the TV show, it's like, you need to stay below deck, and then they just, like, don't, and they're allowed to come up, and then, like, the secret is revealed, and it just seemed a little arbitrary.
Don't worry, they're asleep. Do the thing anyway.
Yeah, like, just, yeah. So they're, like, not even trying to hide it. I did like the conversation that the sales mistress has with them, that there are many ways to be a channeler, and why the sea folk channelers are not sent to the tower except for their weakest members. That's like a secret that they have. That is from the book, so that's great. And then she also notices that Nynaeve can't touch the source, which was weird for the sales mistress to point out, as opposed to their windfinder, unless I mixed up the women. But
you did not.
I did not. Okay. So the woman who can't channel can tell that Nynaeve can't touch the source, and then the woman who can't channel also gives Nynaeve a lesson in how to channel better by talking about the sea and surrendering her control and, you know, giving into the natural rhythm of things rather than trying to, like, force it to do what you want. We don't actually see Nynaeve take that lesson to heart, but it does kind of imply that she will learn that lesson and then channel later in the season, which, I mean, it was fine. It was just kind of funny that it was the sales mistress and not the windfinder giving her that advice, unless I mixed them up. He says I didn't. Okay. And then she says we'll be in Tanchico soon, and also, like, swears them to secrecy. They won't tell the tower about the windfinders, which is like, just promise.
Yeah.
Just promise. Okay. So then Matt introduces Min to Nynaeve and Elaine in the next scene. They've never met. Or, like, Nynaeve met her briefly in Thaldara at a bar. So she knows that she was the one who told Rand he was the dragon, and Matt reiterates that she also said that he would kill him and didn't. Min is excited to go with them and notes that she has been to Tanchico before, so she wants to help. And she has a personal score to settle with Leander and Sedai, who did betray her in season 2 during that segment that I completely forgot about in a previous Raw reaction. They ask Matt if they can trust her, and he's like, yes, and so she's now part of the party. They arrive in Tanchico, which looks a little bit like a pirate city, at least at the docks. They are told to make no eye contact. There's a man hanging from, like, a pole or a lamppost or something. They're told not to flash their money around. It's a dodgy city. Very short scene. Then we skip back to Elida with the Black Ajah, and she has found them using Adelaus's information that she, like, thinks she got secretly from her. And then Elida goes to the Black Ajah and asks them to reveal all of the people in the heart that they don't know yet. And one of them is like, no, I will never tell you. There's nothing you can do to me that will force me to reveal my secrets. And so Elida just, like, kills her. And then she tortures the other one. And at first we were like, this is breaking the 3 O's, right? Like Aes Sedai can't, like, murder people unless with the power, unless it's in defense of their lives or the life of another sister or the life of their warder. And he pointed out that Black Ajah may be an exception, but I don't think that it is, because they're not shadow spawn specifically. Gotcha. I have to go look at the phrasing of the O's, but I want to say in the original that they can't use their powers specifically against humans, but there's an exception for, like, Trollocs.
I think you're right.
And Myrddraal and such. Because otherwise we would have seen Moiraine torture or kill them in Tyr, and she doesn't. And there's, like, other situations where I feel like Aes Sedai would have attacked other Aes Sedai if they, like, suspected them of being Black Ajah or knew they were Black Ajah. And I don't think we see that. Yeah,
they're really not playing up the 3 O's that much.
No, the 3 O's are confusing in the TV show. Also, this the funny part. So, she murders. They both end up dead because a gray man was also secretly there who was sent to kill them, which they assume means a black sister had contracted the gray man. It is said earlier in the show that Moghedien makes gray men, so I'm wondering if she's involved in this somehow. It's not clear.
There's a supposition over look, there was an assassin.
Yeah. Elida gets injured. Swan shows up and heals her and then says, like, I might have misjudged you. Which, like, no, you didn't, because she just murdered and tortured people. Like, I know they're criminals, but, like, still. Like, without without due process, without any kind of like conviction by a court, without any like sentencing by a judge. Just, you didn't tell me what I wanted to know. Death.
Yeah. It's more of like, oh, you didn't directly aid and help those criminals. You only killed and tortured one. You're much better than I thought.
That is not a person that you want ruling all of the Aes Sedai in the most contentious time in history. She lacks civility. So Elaida is not a good person, and Swan should be like extra cautious after witnessing this, not more on her side, in my opinion. You disagree?
No, I agree.
You're just sleepy.
Is very much they're building up a different tension between the two that is not built on the things in the book, and therefore make all the logic very shaky.
Yeah. Okay, almost done. A Whitecloak encampment. So there's fog rolling in that Alanna created for cover. We see some Whitecloaks stumbling around. Maybe they're drunk. Not sure. There's a wolf head inexplicably on like a spear. Don't know what that's about. Valda can tell that the fog is unnatural for reasons unknown and declares that there must be a real Aes Sedai witch somewhere. And then we also see him tell this to Child Buyer, so he is in the story now. Not totally wrong that he was going to show up. Perrin finds the girls with the Aiel maidens and Fael. They're happy to see him. They know his eyes are gold, that Matt is not with him. I think the Aiel maidens are scary. Perrin frees the girls from the cage somehow. It's like he like touches the door and his blacksmith powers melt the lock.
There's a lot of blacksmith
No.
powers right there.
Like, you just like, Matt just, it's not explained. And then the scene shifts and we see that Natty Cawthon, Matt's mom, has been brutally murdered by Valda off screen. Like, she's shown like with her face like burned and half melted. Yeah, horrible death. And then we see Alanna shot with arrows because, again, Valda can tell that this was done by an Aes Sedai and she must be somewhere nearby, and he has enough people to, like, secretly sweep the area without her I don't know. And they shoot her with arrows, and they almost take her down, despite the fact that Alanna held her own against, like, 6 Block Ajah sisters in Tarvalin, but a few Whitecloaks with bows can take her down. Like, her shields are failing, and we don't know why. And then it's like Dane has a fight with Perrin, and Fael shows up and shows that she's a tough fighter. She's real scrappy and fast, like you mentioned. It's not really like characterization other than she's a fighter. So I don't really see like the Perrin Fael romance blooming from this scene. Just that she's tough.
Yeah, we have not really established a character.
I don't know why he likes her.
This whole Whitecloak raid series is very disjointed as far as like realistic blocking for where characters are at.
Yeah.
So Alanna is basically like in the middle of a field.
Yeah, I don't know why. Why are you not hidden more? I don't like.
There's a bit of a mix of, okay, why is she not behind cover like a large rock?
Yeah.
While doing this, because you don't need to see where the fog's going.
I don't know.
How do the Whitecloaks find her?
I don't know.
All this stuff. It just doesn't make sense. Perrin's approach into the Whitecloaks camp, it came off as very disjointed as well.
He's walked in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's fine because the Whitecloaks.
What happened to Aiel?
They were there. They were there. They weren't like involved in the fight.
One.
They're like getting the girls to safety.
Yeah,
maybe I don't know. They didn't show it. Anyway, Perrin gets taken down sort of by Dane Bornhall, and Fael encourages him to get back up, and they have like a moment, I guess. I don't know. Then Masking comes back to save Alanna after she's been hit with I don't know how many arrows, a lot of arrows. And then he takes out the Whitecloaks, and they have a conversation about how she turned the bond back on after she was struck a few times, and that's how he managed to find her and know that she was in mortal peril. That whole thing just feels off to me. It just feels like manufactured drama for the episode to give it kind of an arc.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel natural to how those characters like should react for the situation that they're in and the relationship that they're in with each other.
Yeah. If she doesn't die from that, I'll be kind of disappointed.
She'll live.
She was shot a lot.
Yeah, she really was.
That is not the...
She was shot. And she can't heal herself, at least as far as we know.
There was like at least 10 arrows.
There was a lot of... I don't know if it was 10. It was a lot.
Maybe 8 at least. it was a lot, and they were not really showing her bleeding out from it, but...
No, she was fine.
It was pretty ridiculous.
Okay, so then Rand and Lanfear are in a dream overlooking the two rivers, and she's like, I knew I'd find you here. And he's like, you don't even know where this is. And then they have a conversation about how he has been feeling like he doesn't have any control over his life. The pattern has, like, decided his future for him. And then she says that, you know, she just wants to be, like, free of the Dark One. And he tells her what he saw about her in Meridian, and that she was, like, he implies that she was, like, a good person before the boar, which is not true. It's not true. Moiraine is a bitch. Like, Lanfear was always a crazy narcissist. Like, her giving herself to the Shadow was a natural progression of the person that she was in the books. I don't know. I guess in the TV show they might try to redeem her. I don't know.
Or if he was being deceitful to the servant in that scene.
I think she's playing him, but, like, this whole, like, will they, won't they romance with the between Rand and one of the Shadow's, like, lieutenants is just, like, squick to me. I don't like it. But he's sucked in. She confesses her love for him, and they lean in to kiss. So, I don't know. I don't know who Rand is supposed to be in the TV show, but he's not coming off as any kind of a hero.
Yeah.
Or noble, or in any way heroic.
Yeah, I have no defense on this.
No defense.
It's very much he's meant to be more of a great character of, like,
it's dramatic.
He might like this or this, and she might be redeemable. Like, no, that's
just not a good story.
It's
okay,
not really justified.
We're almost done. Moiraine asks Egwene if she can take her through the dream world to talk with someone. And this is the scene that bothers me the most, because Egwene has promised the Wise Ones that she will not go to Tel'aran'rhiod, and she knows that if she does, she's at very high risk of dying because Lanfear is actively stalking her. So Egwene's like, that is dangerous, and Moiraine says, years ago, I was the one who was warning you of dreams. It's like, that's not persuasive to the situation. Like it wasn't years ago. This would have been, like, months ago.
Yeah. As well as the advice is still true. So,
yeah. So I'm saying it's not persuasive. Okay, so Egwene asks, like, is it something you saw in Meridian? Is it worth the risk? And Egwene agrees to it. So they go and see Sanche, and that's not worth the risk. And Moiraine tells Swan that she's been through the rings at Meridian, which would not mean anything to Swan because she doesn't know anything about Meridian.
Yeah.
And
whole mystery.
And then she says two. I learned two things that are true. One, that if the White Tower does not bend the knee to Rand al'Thor, that he will lose the last battle. And she doesn't give the second reason, but the second reason is that she will die if Rand lives. And then they talk about, like, what happened in Cairhien and, like, forgive each other for their woeful ways. And Swan says that she wished they'd never gone to Katara's study and heard the prophecy, which just makes them both look really uncommitted to saving the world at this time in their lives. And they talk about reconnecting in their next lives because their love will span ages. I don't know. I'm just not into their relationship. I don't really like it.
Like, I don't hate their relationship as a general principle, just the way they're portrayed.
I don't like it. It
really breaks the whole Aes Sedai mystique.
It's bad. I'm sorry. I'm going to disagree. It's bad. I was fine with Moiraine and Swan being ex-girlfriends, which in the book is implied that they had some kind of romantic flair at some point in their youth. But it was a long time ago, and it's not like... They're also, like, both also into men, so it's, like, different in the original story, which they probably won't bother with in the TV version, but, like... Even so, this concept of them having a love that will last through time, like Sailor Moon, it's just like not.
We've been.
I don't believe you.
For 50 years that no one knew.
After they betray each other and force the other one to swear on the oath rod, and just like it's a toxic relationship if it's anything. And I don't know. I didn't love it. And every line is dramatic.
Yes, that was my takeaway from that scene of recognizing of why I hated so many of their scenes was every line was given with the intent of here's a high fantasy line where immediately after it there's a dramatic pause. Not all the lines, but like 80% of everything they said was a dramatic pause.
The joke he made that I thought was really good was like if we could see the script, every line would say like the line and then like in brackets say dramatically in high fantasy, which is like kind of how it feels. And they kiss. Okay, so then there is a final sequence where Egwene is like hanging out in the dream world illegally, and she goes and looks for Nynaeve, and Nynaeve is dreaming of her dead fake daughter and like teaching her how to listen to the wind. And then she goes and finds Elaine, and Elaine is dreaming that she's a wind finder, and Avienda is on the ship with her and hugs her from behind like Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet in Titanic, which I just want to point out again that Rand and Elaine do not have an established relationship in the TV show. Instead, I'm going to say instead, not also. Instead, it's Avienda and Elaine so far.
Who have had like one conversation that's
they met on a boat, Billy. They had a whole month together on a boat, which should have been terrifying to the Aiel. They would not have gotten on a boat and like to travel the ocean for a month. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Turns out cruises.
And then she goes and finds Matt, who's dreaming about his sisters and his mother, who is tragically dead in real life. And then she sees Perrin, and he's like made a sword or is making an axe.
He's making an axe, and Fael
is helping him in the role that his wife used to be in, which implies that he already has romantic feelings for her, despite their having like exchanged 3 words.
Yeah. Not
that many scenes so far. And then last, she finds Rand and is surprised that he is making out with a woman who she realizes is Lanfear and the person who's been torturing her by pretending to be Rena in her dreams. And then she makes like the shocked Pikachu face, and that's the end of the episode. So overall, this felt like a transitional episode after what was a high point in the last one. There's just like a lot happening in this episode. I wouldn't exactly say that it's bad, but it's like all of the episodes where it just feels very disjointed. There's a lot of melodrama, a lot of relationship drama, and like the real plot is lost a little bit. Yes. Like the real things they're trying to achieve just feels like it's like background information.
Yeah, I would say the only solid thing that really happened was the raid on the Whitecloaks to get back Matt's sisters.
I think if that had been more like continuous, it would have been a better that viewing was like experience.
Actual event. Everything else was very much transitionary, or people transitioning from one area to the other, or talking about things.
Yeah. But there's like not really much about Rand trying to build his army with the Aiel now that he's the Karakarn. There's not much about what it is that Moiraine is going to do now that she's had these visions. She has not sworn an oath to Rand or like promised him anything yet. I assume that's coming. I don't know. And like, we don't know why Avienda is now an apprentice of the Wise Ones, and I'm wondering if that was like accidentally admitted or if we're gonna like learn that in the next episode or 2.
Yeah, there are a lot of changes I could see making. From the Rand and the Egwene perspective, very much a Rand determining what he's supposed to do as the Karakarn.
Yeah.
In that training, Egwene actually learning what she's supposed to be doing with the dreams and making that official as an apprentice.
Yeah.
Perrin actually talking with the visitors, with the villagers more so, and establishing some plan about the Whitecloaks as opposed to just and we took the party of established characters to go rescue these people.
I would just like it to have more of a narrative build.
Yes.
And more like character development where I feel grounded in what each character wants and what the opposition is to them getting what they want. So I feel concerned or worried for that character. And right now I feel like all of the focus is just relationship drama, which is not what the show is supposed to be built around.
Yeah.
This episode just felt like a lot of relationship drama. So, I don't know. I'm mixed feelings about this one. It's I think coming off of the last one, it was going to be a down episode for me no matter what, because Iridian is such a good moment in the series, but like it was a little weak for me.
I'd argue just based on our reviewing it of too many jumps, too many magic powers that are like unexplained, just a lot of relationship drama. It's a lot of that. So
I guess we'll see what happens. I am guessing the end of the season is going to be a lot of things hitting a climax all at once. Like Swan being deposed, the battle in the Two Rivers, the Rand revealing the history of the Aiel to all the clans. Like, all that stuff is going to hit, like, simultaneously at the end. If they do all of it. They might not.
I can see that.
So, spoilers. But, like, we don't know what the TV show is going to do. So it's coming off of guesses based on what we've read in the books and kind of the direction things seem to be flowing. But there's, like, a lot to cover.
Yeah. There's
with 3 episodes left.
Looking back in this episode, thinking of like all that actually happened, there really wasn't a lot of time skips between the different scenes. Where I really wish they'd have just kept with each of the basically like the 3 perspectives of Rand, Perrin, and Matt, and just like play out their entire scene for the episode, between jumping between scenes.
I think I think so. I think that they did it the way they did it in part because of how poor the writing is. Like, the scene jumping disguises some of the illogical flow.
Yeah, disguises any disjointedness of what's going on. Because otherwise, most all of the scenes between those 3 were in a very short timeline.
Yeah.
They weren't actually a big, he starts traveling here, we're going to jump somewhere else. A week later, they arrive here.
Yeah.
We'll go back to him.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been our review of episode 5 of season 3 of The Wheel of Time. We'll be back next week to review episode 6, which, should start building towards a climax. Because we have 3 episodes left of the season, assuming they're sticking with 8 episodes per season. So we will find out how it evolves. So thanks for sticking with us. Again, these are raw reactions. I might change my mind at the end of the season when I do more of a critical review. If you enjoy this, leave a comment, like, subscribe, and until next time.